This is the Harmony of George Orwell. In 1948, George Orwell wrote 1984. In 84-tone equal temperament, 19 steps equals a subminor third interval. This interval can be used as a generator to model a temperament that we today call Orwell. Now, it's not like George himself moonlit as a microtonalist or anything like that. The name is more of a cheeky homage to a random coincidence more than anything else. But I think there's something really compelling in the parallel between the themes he wrote about and the dualistic nature of this harmony. George Orwell spoke in the language of contrasts, the division of the haves from the have-nots, sparking revolution in Animal Farm. Doublethink, doublespeak, the collective weighed against the individual in 1984. The stark contrast between the reality of working-class life and abstract political idealism documented in The Road to Wigan Pier. Throughout this video, I'd like to show you not only the ins and outs of this incredible temperament, but also demonstrate that it speaks in this same language of contrasts, making it an ideal choice for the composer tasked with setting some of these themes to music. Let's explore non-atonic Orwell 9. But first, did you know that Orwell was a man of refined interest? He liked to garden, spoke 8 languages, went ice skating on the regular, and above all, he was a man who knew a good razor when he saw one. I mean, just look at that pencil stash. That's where today's sponsor, Henson Shaving, comes in. The reason I wear a beard most of the time, honestly, is because I hate shaving, or at least I did until I got this razor. I have like the most sensitive skin that has ever skinned. That sounds weird. The point is, I've been using multi-blade razors all of my life and have dealt with nothing but overpriced blades, ingrown hairs, and razor burn. I still shave to keep things like my neck and beard line orderly, but even then, my skin always comes out irritated. Until, and this is no exaggeration, Henson Shaving saved my face. Look at this thing. It's made of pure, lightweight aluminum designed by an actual group of aerospace machinists to reduce irritation and give you the best shave possible. Their precision engineering is what allows the blade to extend just 1/1000th of an inch beyond the shave plane, less than the thickness of a single human hair. The razor prevents skipping and bouncing, resulting in an irritation-free shave every single time. It's just ridiculously high quality, and really you only need to buy one once and then you're set for life. The replacement blades, 10 cents. Let me say that one more time. The replacement blades cost only 10 cents, meaning you're only going to be spending like $3 to $5 per year on blades. Compare that to how much you spend on cartridge blades and you'll realize real quick that Henson Shaving is the way to go. Head over to hensonshaving.com/Levi McLean and use my special discount Levi McLean at checkout to get 100 blades for free with a purchase of a Henson razor. Big thank you to Henson Shaving for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the microtones. Now, 84 notes is a lot of notes, perhaps too many, so we're going to be modeling Orwell 9 in 31 Edo instead. Not only is it going to be less cumbersome to deal with, but it's also one of the best tuning systems for generating this scale faithfully. In 31, 7 steps equals a subminor third. If we keep stacking subminor thirds on top of each other, you'll see that by the time we reach the octave, we'll have 5 notes. This is Orwell 5, and it's all fine and dandy, but it's not exactly what we want. So, how do we get Orwell 9 from Orwell 5? Enter one of my favorite things, subset expansion. Usually when we talk about subdivisions, we're squarely in the domain of rhythm, but you can actually subdivide pitch as well. One 7-diesis leap can be broken up in a number of ways. We could do a diesis plus a supermajor second, which equals a subminor third. Or we could do a subminor second plus a major second as well. For our purposes today, we're going to subdivide the subminor third like this. Neutral second plus minor second. In diesis terms, this is a repeating step pattern of 4 steps and 3. If we continue to chain this pattern over and over and over until we kiss the octave, boom, we have Orwell 9. We can also mirror this pattern to get another version of this scale, which starts with the smaller step first, followed by the larger step. These are the moment of symmetry, or MOS, expressions of both of these options. We're going to focus on the large, small version of Orwell 9 for the rest of this video. As you might imagine, this subminor third scaffolding, which is holding up our scale, produces a ton of subminor triads. Starting on A, we have A subminor, B half flat subminor half flat 5, C half flat subminor, D flat subminor half flat 5, E double flat subminor half flat 5, E subminor half flat 5, F subminor half flat 5, and G sharp subminor half flat 5. In fact, we have quite a few different unique triadic structures that appear as a result of building out Orwell in this way. The subminor triad, for one, which we Edo step as 0, 7, 18. On A, this would be A, C half flat, and E. We also have the subminor half flat 5 variation, which appears on most other scale degrees. 0, 7, 17. Notice our half flat 5 is 17 steps, not 18. So on E, this would be E, G half flat, B half flat. These chords are real crunchy. At first, I'd recommend avoiding root position voicings and kind of spread things out a little bit more, just to let the dissonance breathe. The tune I composed in the opening of this video plays with this idea, mostly rocking back and forth between an A subminor and F major 7 half flat 5 kind of sound. We start with the harmony close. Everything is pretty compact in order to challenge our ears and get accustomed to this new sound. But just before it gets too grating, too repetitive, we crack that harmony open and let it soar. Voicing any fits that might be half flat about as far away from the root as my piano roll would let me go. Something about the vast distance between these otherwise clashing notes really does a lot to quell the individual whose ear might be more sensitive to dissonances outside of 12. Most scales we encounter in the wild are monotriadic, meaning there's a single chord quality associated with each letter name of the scale. Look at the note A in the context of the A minor scale. There's really not any ambiguity here. If you want to build a consonant triad on A from this scale, the chord kind of has to be A minor. Sure, you could add extensions up the wazoo, but the core quality of this chord is still going to be minor. If you wanted to make this chord major, all you'd have to do is sharp the C, but you'd have to go outside of the scale to do it. This basic idea is true for every note in this scale. On the bass triadic level, there is one chord quality for each scale degree. Orwell 9 is quite unique in this regard. It's what you might consider a bi-triadic scale, meaning most of its notes support 2 different kinds of triads, 2 different qualities for an ambiguous dualist harmony. Yes, we have our subminor and half-flat minor chords, but we also have our half-flat major and supermajor chords that we can build off of the same notes as well. 2 chord qualities per scale degree, a dark side and a bright side, if you will. We have a subminor, but also a supermajor. B half-flat subminor half-flat 5, and also B half-flat major half-flat 5. The result is a really fascinating duality of accessible harmony. Let's take a listen to a simple, I guess you'd call it like a faux 2-5-1 progression, which leans more on the supermajor side of this Orwellian coin. To me, this harmony sounds wonderfully brassy and bright, with maybe just a hint of nasality to it. Now, let's flip the coin and take a listen to the parallel image of this progression by switching to Orwell's secondary set of chord qualities. So basically everything becomes mirrored. Our subminor second is now a supermajor second. E major half-flat 5 becomes E subminor half-flat 5. And our one chord goes from A supermajor to A subminor. Wow, I absolutely love that sound. It is dark, it's tense, it's a little bit uncanny, kind of giving like bleak vibes, but also metallic almost, if that makes any sense whatsoever. In any case, we have before us 2 paths embedded into this collection of notes that we can take. One dark, one bright, both connected by the same thread. And perhaps the ideal scale to evoke the conflicting world of Orwell's most important work, 1984. George Orwell was not a musician, not even of the casual sort. Yet, music in his writings functions as a form of commentary. In the world of 1984, nearly all music is composed without any human intervention whatsoever, by machine, a cold, unfeeling instrument known as the versificator. The Department of Music is responsible for the endless stream of state-approved martial cadences broadcast through every telescreen across London. The music is dull, it's loud, it's repetitive, and it's by design. In Silence and the Notion of the Commons, Dr. Ursula Franklin writes that before we had electronic devices, sound was rightly seen as being ephemeral. Sound was coupled to its source and lasted only a very short time. She goes on to lay out how modern society has been inundated with noise pollution and incredibly loud sounds and very, very unnecessary wallpaper music at every turn of public life. She stresses that we all have an innate human right to silence. This right, for the denizens of Oceania, has been stripped away. A fact which Orwell makes great narrative use of throughout the novel. Winston's paranoia throughout the book is conveyed by the sheer volume of the noise that surrounds his world. His anger is felt in the description of the grating, nameless voice on the telescreen, announcing reductions in chocolate rations or razor supplies due to the war effort. Honestly, sounds like Winston could have used Henson shaving. His anxiety comes alive in the cacophonous group chant of the 2 Minutes Hate. His exhaustion is read in the constant clanging of machines which power his world. Remember, it's only the members of the inner party who are able to turn off their telescreens. To borrow a sentiment from one of Orwell's other great works, it only ever seems to be those who are more equal than others who actually get to enjoy the freedom of silence and the freedom from repetition. On a video essay covering this topic, fellow music YouTuber Listening In writes, "Repetition of music and song allows the words of the party to be planted as a seed in the mind, and then through repeated ritualistic acts, it can be nurtured. Music is fundamentally human." The goal of the party is, in essence, to stamp out all that is human. So music itself must be perverted, deliberately dehumanized, twisted by and into hate, to be used as a blunt propaganda tool for Big Brother and the party to exert control over the masses. But music, like the human spirit, endures. At one point in the novel, Winston notices a woman, a prole, singing one of the party's versificator-generated songs. He's annoyed at the song at first, but can't help but feel drawn to the unique and free way in which she sings it. She sang so tunefully as to turn the dreadful rubbish into an almost pleasant sound. He could hear the woman singing, and the scrape of her shoes on the flagstones, and the cry of the children in the streets, and somewhere in the far distance, a faint roar of traffic. And yet the room seemed curiously silent. In his later love affair with Julia, when he is at the farthest point away from the doctrine of the party that he's ever been, both physically and literally, Winston's chance encounter with birdsong on the English countryside overwhelms him with awe and delight. The thrush began to pour forth a torrent of song. In the afternoon hush, the volume of the sound was startling. Winston and Julia clung together, fascinated. The music went on and on, minute after minute, with astonishing variation, never once repeating itself, almost as though the bird were deliberately showing off its virtuosity. Winston watched it with a sort of vague reverence. For what was the bird singing? No mate, no rival was watching it. What made it sit on the edge of the lonely wood and pour its music into nothingness? In this instance, Orwell is using the imagery of music to symbolize freedom itself. And for the first time in 1984, the writing comes to life, going from dull and lifeless to bright and colorful. The flood of music drove all speculations out of his mind. It was as though it were a kind of liquid stuff that poured all over him and got mixed up in the sunlight and filtered through the leaves. He stopped thinking and merely felt. The music follows the story, and as Winston himself later puts it, the birds sang, the proles sang, the party did not sing. When I compose for media or for film, for games, or even for these videos on the channel, I'm always thinking in terms of story and narrative. How do I tell a tale without words? Convey betrayal with pure harmony, heartbreak through timbre, joy through meter. It's kind of funny to me that George Orwell, having no formal or informal training in music, did exactly what every good composer is supposed to do: tell a good story through music. Howard Shore's score from The Lord of the Rings had a huge impact on me as a young musician. The way he would tie musical themes, leitmotifs as they're called, to characters, to places, to ideas, made the films that much more compelling to me, and I've always tried to keep that style of composition in mind. Wagner, despite him being a complete asshat of a human being, pioneered this approach, and to great effect, too. Usually, when people talk about film scoring, it's all about leitmotifs, leitmotifs, leitmotifs. Side note, am I the only one who thought it was pronounced leitmotif until like a couple years ago? Anyway, there are thousands of ways to connect visual, written, and verbal storytelling with music. It doesn't just have to be leitmotifs. We could, for instance, contrast the idea of individual freedom against the collective with a scale that holds two opposing sounds within itself at once. We could tell the story of Orwell with Orwell. I was recently working on a piece of music for my double mode video with friend of the channel, Braylon Addison. He sang this line that I really latched onto.
Where has the time gone? I've walked a million miles, never to find
really resonated with this mental image of time literally slipping through your fingers. I think time tends to escape us not in the big moments, but in the small ones that we forget to pay attention to. I wanted to echo this sentiment in the music itself. So as he sings that line, the music underneath shifts from 4/4 to 3/4 time.
All I have is only me to blame. Where has the time gone?
Bitriadic scales like Orwell are just another tool in the toolbox, so we as musicians, as composers, as songwriters, can be as expressive as we want to be. Now, let me ask, are these tools necessary? These little tips and tricks, little ways to embed a bit of story into the music itself, are they truly needed to be an effective composer? Maybe. Possibly. I think a lot of this stuff comes out intuitively throughout the process, and often it's only in the analysis after the fact do we start actually connecting some of these dots. That said, I do think it's valuable to approach music in this way head on and with intention, and that it can truly enrich the experience of not just the creative, but the story that we are tasked to tell. So if you ever find yourself in the fortunate position of being the composer on the next remake of 1984, you'd probably do well to consider the Harmony of George Orwell. Huge thank you to all of my patrons now currently on screen for making this video and all future videos possible. Also, big shout out to Evan Rhoda for laying down the sickest drum groove at the top of this video. I'm gonna link all of his stuff and all of his socials down below in the description. Please check him out. If you'd like to support this channel's mission of getting as much microtonal educational content out there as humanly possible, the best way to do that is through Patreon. We've got a bunch of in-depth lectures, including an entire crash course on microtonal harmony for the modern musician, a bunch of really cool bonus theory videos, as well as some practical ones, like how to microtune in your DAW and various ways of actually producing microtonal music with modern instruments. I also have production and bass lessons where I show you how I make my music from start to finish, as well as a bunch of virtual instruments and sample packs as well. Come study with me. I really do make it a point to make myself available to all of our patrons to answer questions, geek out about music theory, and help develop and foster a thriving community of microtonal music theory nerds. We await you with open arms, and of course, a whole lot of notes.